I started working the truck unloading shifts at Walmart about 3 months ago, and today I am quitting. There's no way in hell I am going back to that place, paycheck or not. The job was very simple, and you'd think it would be low stress. With little to no contact with customers who in retail can be conniving and cruel, nice hours for a night owl like me from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m., sometimes later depending on the truckloads required, and full-time hours with benefits. It was just what I was looking for. The job consisted of opening up a 53-foot truck trailer, unloading all of the boxes from it, and sorting them onto the appropriate pallets on the backroom floor. For example, 2 was for toys, 6 for furniture, etc. After a pallet was full, you simply moved the pallet into the stacks using the jacks and placed an empty one in its place. After that, your job was to take the pallets to the sales floor into the appropriate section and leave them there for the stocking folks. And then, if you had time, you could help them. However, the workers themselves were high stress. The guys in the back were always angry about something. I was never quite sure what. There was never friendly banter or joking around back there. Words were few, and many of them were fiery, nasty words at each other or about others' mothers. I always felt the tension in the air even after the first couple of days on the job. It felt like we were one argument away from a full-on brawl in the back room. Beyond that, odd things began to happen, especially late at night when we'd leave the back room with the pallet jacks to stock the sales floor. No one ever talked about it, but I began to suspect that the tension in the back room was related to what happened out here. Now, you get your strange people late at night in a 24-hour Walmart, but things got worse in this one, worse than in any other Walmart I had been to late at night. There were many incidents along the way, but here are the ones I remember best. I was pulling a pallet into the toy section when dozens of the Try Me toys went off at once with no customers or other employees around. The cacophony was enough to make my ears hurt and of course made me leap out of my skin, since it was so quiet otherwise. I was in electronics, leaving a pallet in the main aisle, when motion suddenly caught the corner of my eye. At first it was a black shadow flitting in and out of the CD section, but when I caught it full on in the glare of the mercury vapor lights, it was something that should never have been in a Walmart, especially in the light. It stopped in the main aisle, cracked a smile I couldn't see, and then disappeared around the corner, moving so fast it couldn't have been human. My hackles were raised by that one. The best way I can describe it was an obese, faceless shadow, like something that might have shopped there while dead. I was stocking groceries in the soda aisle when I felt the hair on the back of my neck rise. I slowly turned around, expecting to see a manager checking on my progress, but there was a black figure sticking halfway out of the shelving, watching me with unseen eyes, before it snapped back into the shelves and disappeared, knocking over a bunch of macaroni. The noise attracted a manager who scolded me for being clumsy. Cold spots. Tons of cold spots. All over the place, not just in the refrigerated section of the grocery either. If you encountered a cold spot, things would slow down, as though you weren't in the Walmart anymore, and you got the feeling of being watched. Of course, there were never any customers around. The few living people you'd see at the time of night we took the pallets out were strange too. It seemed like everyone was muttering to themselves or staring far too long at you or nothing. Sometimes you'd think you had seen a customer, but then you turned the corner and there was nothing there. The last straw was when I lost my cell phone. I looked all over the back room for it and couldn't find it. A dim glow from the back of the truck trailer caught my eye. My phone. I went into the empty trailer to retrieve it. As soon as I entered, the doors swung shut and the latch engaged. I knocked several times, but was met with silence. I finally had to call the store on my cell phone to have someone come and let me out. The short time I was in the trailer, it was so cold I could see my breath, and I could swear my shadow wasn't the only one in the dim light. Finally, someone let me out. I insisted on the loss prevention guy showing me the tape to see who had locked me in, perhaps as a prank. We watched the tape. There I went in, and the doors slammed shut a moment later, with the latch going down as though someone had pushed it down to engage it. After that, I went home, wondering if the other guys had experienced things, and that's why they hated it so much there but couldn't quit due to life circumstances. No one would answer me. No one budged, not even the cashiers or managers. They looked at me like I was crazy. Was I crazy? Sometimes I still go to that Walmart late at night, and I do still see screwy things. A haunted Walmart is something else, I tell you. Darkness despite all that megastore light. I've got a story that stuck with me since 2018, a chilling experience my family and I had while Christmas shopping at Walmart. It was supposed to be a simple trip for party supplies, but it turned into something straight out of a thriller movie. It was a few days before Christmas, and the festive spirit was in full swing. My mom, my younger sister, and I were bustling through the crowded aisles of Walmart, our shopping cart filled to the brim, with food and decorations for the upcoming Christmas party. I was 11 at the time, my sister just a year younger, and our mom, a young and vigilant 30-year-old, was leading our little expedition. While browsing through the food section, my mom's attention was caught by two men who seemed oddly fixated on us. She offered a polite wave, assuming it was nothing more than a brief, awkward encounter. However, their unblinking stare lingered, sending a ripple of discomfort through her. Unsettled, we moved to another aisle, hoping to shake off the uneasy feeling. But it wasn't long before I spotted the same men again, their gaze unwavering and intent. Glancing up at my mom, I saw her expression darken with concern. Without a word, she took our hands and began to steer us toward the checkout area, her pace quickening with every step. As we neared the registers, one of the men blocked our path. With a grin that didn't reach his eyes, he said, "Hey, I see you again." My mom, ever the diplomat, forced a laugh and attempted to sidestep him. That's when I noticed his accomplice closing in on us from behind. A surge of fear shot through me, prompting me to alert my mom. Reacting instantly, my mom pushed the man aside with more force than I knew she had. He stumbled and fell, cursing at us as we hurried away. His partner gave chase, but we didn't look back. We rushed through the checkout, throwing glances over our shoulders to see if they were still following. Breathless, we made it to our car, locking the doors the moment we were inside. That's when we saw the two men emerge at the entrance, their eyes fixed on us. My mom, her protective instinct in full force, shouted at them through the closed window, "Get the hell away before I run you over." It was a side of her I'd never seen before, fierce, determined, and ready to defend her children at all costs. To our relief, the threat of confrontation was enough to deter them. They backed off, disappearing into the crowd as we sped out of the parking lot. The car ride home was silent, each of us processing the fear and adrenaline of the encounter. I'm Deanne, an 18-year-old female. I work at Walmart to pay the bills, along with my boyfriend who happily works at Petland. He usually works very late, sometimes until 1 a.m., as sometimes he has to run errands. Though we don't make much, we do pretty well on our own. At Walmart, I work the night shift, and sometimes I don't get much sleep. This leaves me drinking copious amounts of energy drinks throughout the night from the countless see-through freezers in the store, listening to my old 80s playlist since I can jam to some of Queen's songs. Walmart, or at least our Walmart, is completely closed on Christmas every year, specifically Christmas 2018. This means that it's almost completely dark at times, and there's a lot of stocking to do. Christmas wasn't really a busy day for me, so I could work without an issue. I came in around 11 p.m. and started stocking as usual. Around 2 a.m., I noticed something odd. I was pulling open a clear fridge, grabbing a usual bang, when I noticed an odd scratching noise escaping from the vent system that released the cold air. I pushed it away from the wall it was up against, and noticed some odd liquid pouring from the back of it. And when I say pouring, I mean gushing out at least a cup of this stuff per minute. I quickly called the manager and voiced my concern. We weren't allowed to pull apart any of the machines or fridges, as usually only the people who supplied the items knew what was up with them. So I shut the fridge back and didn't dare to drink the energy drink I had happily pulled from it. I moved to a closed aisle and swayed my basket back and forth, humming, when I noticed something pulling itself from the floor. It was black, fluid-like, but almost like fur as well. It was skinny and made a small scratching noise as it attempted to pull itself onto a nearby aisle shelf, but failed to do so. When it fell, it didn't make a sound. I was pretty unnerved and moved behind one of the aisles, calling my manager again. I explained the creature and he sounded a little anxious. "What are you talking about? Is there another worker around? What department are you in?" I replied with a no, as there were only about 4 workers in the store, and they all were in different parts of the store. I was in the electronics department. "Stay away from whatever it is, I'll call in one of our security guards soon," he said, or something like that, from what I can remember. I waited. I heard the noise it made slowly fade and voiced my concerns to my other co-workers who were in the store. None of them voiced back. I thought it was typical since most of them were slackers and more than likely left their radios somewhere away from them. Around 4 a.m., I was wrapping up my stocking when my boyfriend told me he had apparently wrecked due to the snow in our area, since he was traveling from a management office. I called my manager and let him know. I exited through the back door that most of the workers leave out of, but when I went outside, the door clicked as if it had locked. I didn't think much of it, so I entered my car and drove over to help my boyfriend. The next morning, I woke up to many missed calls from my manager and one of my coworkers. I was very puzzled as I had messaged them all that I had left early. I called my manager. No answer. I brushed it off and turned on the TV. I sat and watched the news, as I did every morning. About 20 minutes in, Walmart popped up surrounded by a few ambulances and a lot of different vehicles, as well as vans and police cars. All 4 of my coworkers that night were missing, with a lot of damage to the store. I quickly fumbled to my phone and called my manager again, explaining what I had seen on the TV. I asked him what had happened that night after I left. He sounded worried, anxious, and started stuttering. I'm not sure. I went in to check on some of the night shift people, and the back door was locked. All of the doors were locked, and I couldn't open them with any of our keys. I had to crawl through one of the back windows to get in. The security guards came with me. He paused for a long minute and continued. There was stuff all over the floor. Black tar, it seemed to be. It was really, really hard to get off. I looked everywhere, but I couldn't find them. There was even someone who mentioned that their friends had snuck in and tried to spend the night there in a certain department. They were missing. We finished up the call, and I kept trying to get in contact with my coworkers, even going to their houses and asking their families or neighbors. Nobody knew anything. Apparently, there had been previous sightings of this odd, grimy creature as I talked to some of the day shift members who knew older night shift workers. Countless people have gone missing when sneaking into crevices between aisles or near fridges. They call the thing the TAUR creature, or terrifying, angry, upset rat, explaining that it makes the sounds of rats. Apparently, there was an instance just like that night that happened in 2016. The media tried very hard to cover it, as they have with this one. To this day, I have no idea what that creature was or where my coworkers went. I won't drink or eat anything from Walmart anymore, and I haven't worked a dead night since. But Christmas is coming up again, and since it's one of the only nights we're completely closed, I'll be working again. Two years back, around Christmas time, I found myself in a situation that taught me the importance of vigilance even in the most mundane circumstances. I was 13 or 14 then, out for some last-minute shopping with my mom and grandmother at the local Walmart, about 15-20 minutes from our house. The store was buzzing with holiday shoppers, the air filled with a mixture of excitement and the stress of seasonal gift hunting. We headed straight to the electronics section, aiming to find the perfect PS4 accessories for my dad. My mom, having grown increasingly confident in my ability to navigate stores on my own, due to my size and slightly muscular build, allowed me some freedom to explore. Drawn to the gadgets, I wandered off to the iPad display, not far from where my mom and grandmother were engrossed in their search. There, I found myself completely absorbed by the digital drawing app on the iPad. It was a peaceful moment, or so it seemed. Out of the periphery of my vision, a figure loomed. A man donned in hunting camouflage and a trucker cap, his presence unmistakable with a brawny stature and a scruffy beard peppered with gray. Initially, I paid him no mind, my focus unwavering from the iPad screen. However, as minutes ticked by, his lingering presence sent a ripple of discomfort through me. I shifted away subtly, trying to signal my awareness, yet hoping to avoid any direct confrontation. The unease in my gut grew, yet I convinced myself he was perhaps just another shopper with an interest in tech, possibly seeking a holiday gift for his family. Despite my attempts to reassure myself, the man's continued proximity felt increasingly ominous. It was then that my mom's hand on my back startled me, her voice breaking through my focus state with a gentle inquiry. "What are you looking at, baby?" As I turned to answer, relief washed over me to see her there, but it was quickly replaced by confusion and fear at the sight of the man hastily retreating with an almost guilty speed walk. My mom's expression was one of concern as she explained her perspective. She had been searching for me and had noticed the man standing far too close for comfort, his attention fixed unsettlingly on me. As she approached, she saw his hand reach out, an action cut short by her timely intervention. The reality of what could have happened had my mom not intervened when she did hit me like a ton of bricks. We reported the incident. The man had disappeared into the sea of shoppers. leaving us with little more than a chilling story and a lesson learned. Click on this next video if you enjoyed for more content like this, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel.